Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Area 58 Community Access Media Candidate Forums. My name is Richard Goulart and I'm the ED, the Executive Director of Area 58. It is as part of our mission to serve the community that we are hosting this forum, something we have annually done since our inception until last year. This is, however, our first foray into hosting this event via Zoom and streaming it at the same time. While we always strive for perfection, we also realize that we are human and must rely on the vagaries of electronic devices and the internet to make all of this possible. With any luck, everything tonight will come off without a hitch. My staff and I are proud to serve the community, and we are determined to provide unbiased coverage and are simply a conduit for tonight's event. We had no input or foreknowledge of the questions that will be asked of the candidates. That is entirely the responsibility of the forum's host. If you are watching this on Friday evening on March 26th, we are going live with the event. It is happening as you are viewing it. When the first segment of the forum ends, there'll be a delay until the top of the hour before the second segment, which will feature the selectmen, will begin. As these forums will also be recablecast on Channel 15 and also available on demand at our website, area58.net. If you are watching them after the fact, the way the programming will work is the next contested race will begin immediately after the previous one concludes. Thank you for tuning in. It is our pleasure to serve the town of Carver and its citizens. I now turn you over to the forum's host, Catherine Gallerani. Unmute, Catherine.
Thank you, Richard, for inviting me to be host again this year. Sorry we missed last year. But I'm Catherine Gallerani. I'm a reporter for the Carver Reporter and Wicked Local Carver, and I'm here to ask questions. First, we're going to have an opening 2 minutes, so each of you will get a chance to introduce yourselves. But I guess let's start with Colleen. You're kind of on top of the screen here with your opening remarks. 2 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Kowalski, and I am running for school committee. My husband and I both grew up in Carver and Bonnet Estates, graduates of Carver High School. And through the years, I've had the opportunity to experience many amazing teachers, staff, and positive memories created at the Governor John Carver and Carver High School that have truly fostered my education and career. My daughter is in the 2nd grade, and as young professionals, my husband and I owned a home in Wareham. It was very important to us for our child to attend Carver School education. She was accepted through the school choice program, and we put the wheels in motion as we always intended, to move home to family, neighbors, and friends we grew up with, and a strong sense of community. We got our home in Carver in 2019. Again, it was important for us to attend schools, sports, dance, extracurricular activities with friendly faces who we trust and respect. It was important to eat at school and volunteer and other community events and fundraising. So I appreciate that the past year has been a challenge to us all, but what we need to now do is focus on moving forward and coming up with plans to get the caught up and back on the level they should be. For me personally, it's time to get involved and give back to Carver education. I want my opinion to be heard and influence change in a positive way. My professional career as an attorney has prepared me for this position. I've had to make many systematic decisions, balancing pros and cons on weighted topics and issues. I am proactive, impartial, open-minded, decisive by nature, and above all, I care about what's in the best interest of our children and their future. Thank you for your time.
And next, I'd like to invite Rob Harrington to give his opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight and Area 58 for putting this on. My name is Rob Harrington. I'm running for the Carver School Committee this year. I work right here in Carver, and my family has lived here in our home since 2011. We have 4 children. My oldest daughter is a sophomore at Old Colony High School. We have 2 boys in the middle school, and the youngest boy is in first grade elementary. We also have 3 dogs, kind of have a little bit of a zoo going on over at our house, but keeps things interesting, keeps us on our feet. We enjoy a lot of what Carver has to offer. I grew up in a neighboring town over in Kingston, and even back when I was a child, remember coming here for the fair and the old Cranberry Festival down in Edaville and a lot of things like that. Decided to move here with my family. It was an upgrade for the school system for our children. We looked for a house here for a few years, finally found one that fit what we needed, and here we are. Like I said, grew up over in Kingston. I graduated in 2005, 4th academically in my class at Silver Lake Regional High School, also with a certificate in house carpentry and cabinet making over there at Silver Lake. And I have a bachelor's degree in civil and environmental engineering from the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. In regards to the school committee run, I know that we need someone to take the seat, and I've been passionate about the system and sitting in on meetings. And I know there's something that I know that I can bring value to the team. The past year has been a challenge for everyone, and everyone has been being flexible to get around issues that have arisen with COVID-19, and some things have fallen behind. Our children are no exception in this, especially regards into their education and their social development. Now, more than ever, we have an increasing amount of data about the virus. We know who it affects, we know who it does not, and we know that people either have access now or shortly will have access to the vaccinations if that's what they want, and that's a good move for them. Our job as parents and educators is to get the education system back on track after the hybrid learning we've been doing. The school system has done a wonderful job, but there's a lot of work to do moving forward. We need to focus on the students coming back. A lot of them hopefully will come back without skipping a beat, and they'll be right on track. However, some of them will be coming back for the tail end of their first grade, never really haven't experienced a lot of full-time schooling. We'll have kids that need to be ready for MCAS or SATs, and they might be behind. We're going to need to get them caught up. Any number of different hurdles that we're going to have to do, we're going to have to keep in mind and assess each kid individually in some way, to see how they're doing and see what they need and what we can do to help them get where they need to be. We need to pay attention to the coming school year for 21-22. We need to be careful about budgeting to make sure that we don't overextend spending. Anytime something needs to be fluid and there's unforeseen circumstances like COVID pandemic, spending has a tendency to get out of hand if it's not watched. And it's very important that we keep an eye on that so that we can not overextend ourselves. We want to promote a system where we have staff that feels comfortable in their employment as long as they're doing a good job. And it's something we need to be on top of. I work in construction and budgeting and management and bringing in the specialists and people who know the situation, whatever it may be. And, listening what they have to say and helping that go towards making decisions is always a good idea. Basically, I think I can help, and I'd like to help. I'm not good at sitting on the sidelines and not helping. And for that reason, and for the education of my children and everyone else's children here in town, I would like the opportunity to get on the school board and do what I can to help us all out. Thank you for your time.
Rob, what do you believe is the role of a school committee member in all that? And what would you hope to accomplish?
I would see it, honestly, as a little bit of an extension of parenting. I think that on the committee itself, it would be a matter of helping with decisions and keeping factors and input from everyone involved in mind in making votes and helping the town make decisions to move things forward. But when I say that I see it kind of as an extension of parenting, I think what I mean by that is that just like when you're a first-time parent, you are going to run into situations that you don't always know what to do. You don't always know what the best decision or way to move forward might be. Sometimes you just have to go with something and do the best you can. Sometimes there'll be someone involved that you can consult that's been through something similar, you can get information from. Consult with the specialists or the professionals, I guess, if you will. But the school committee, in my eyes, a member of the school committee is someone who should be there to do whatever is necessary to keep the school system moving forward and keep Carver education system running to its full potential so that our kids can reach their full potential.
And Colleen, you're next. You need to unmute.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, essentially, it's going to be a learning process for me, right? I've never done this. I've never sat on a school committee, but, it's my understanding it's a collaborative process with your co-members, business manager, your superintendent, other town officials. It's a fostering environment where people's opinions can, be outspoken and great. And, it's about decision making, fiscally responsible decisions. What I see myself, I see it as a personal and community development for myself. It's an opportunity to learn more and give back and see how things work, what's behind the curtains. I'm up for the challenge, and I believe that it'll be a learning process. I'm not going to be a seasoned member from the get-go, but, as it's a 3-year term and would like to have more responsibilities. So I just really am open to the opportunity, to soak it all in and see what it's about and hopefully make a difference for positive change and influence. And that's really all I have on that matter, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. And Colleen, we're going to start with you again. Do you feel that you are the best candidate to meet the needs of the students? There's always said that the students are number one.
Yes, of course. I feel like I'm the best candidate. I love children. I enjoy children. I love being a mother. I'm educated in what it takes to do well in school and to get through school, but I also think it's an important environment to grow social emotionally. That's where we learn how to treat people and how to respect individuals, and where we learn when we do a good job. And, in terms of what I want out of this, I don't have an agenda. I want to provide, give back, and basically learn as much as I can from the opportunity, and, make a positive influence going forward.
And Rob, how would you answer that? Why are you the better candidate and you need to unmute?
Well, I think I'm a great candidate for the school committee. I have always greatly valued my education. I loved being a student, both in classroom and in career and technical situations outside of the school. I love learning, and it's something I continue to do and make sure that I try to learn new things every day and all the time. And I have 4 children, and I value teaching them things, and I love to hear them come home and explain or tell me things they've learned, and hear their excitement to realize how something works, or come home and start talking about science. My son came home the other day and started talking about cell walls and things of that nature. Education has always been something that has excited me, and it has given me great opportunities in life. It's brought me a long way. It's brought me where I am today, and I feel that it's brought me into a good position to share things and help my children grow in that nature. And I feel that I'm ready at this point in life to start to expand that into the community, and I feel that I can be of help outside the walls of my own family at this point. I think Colleen's 100% correct. It's absolutely going to be a learning curve. Definitely not going to be, perfect and know exactly what to do the minute I show up. I don't think any of us would. But it's something I'm excited about, I'm passionate about, and I'd love the opportunity to help in any way I can. So I'm excited. That's the best way I think I can put it.
It doesn't sound like either of you have a particular issue why you're decided to run, or am I incorrect with that? Rob?
I don't think I have an issue. I think I definitely see the need for us to focus on and be careful moving forward. We're at a tough space right now, but I think that the current team and the superintendent and everyone in place at the schools right now have done a great job. I think it's been a tough year to keep things going, and I think they've done a wonderful job. So no, I don't have a criticism that I want to correct necessarily. I do think that we need to make sure we continue to focus on keeping things going, and I think we need to do everything we can to keep the kids back in school and try to avoid further holdups and hindrances of an education. But I think we have a great system, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to build further. And, I believe in constant and never-ending education and constant and never-ending improvement. We can always be better. There's always something we can work on. So that would be my focus. Whatever the next thing is that we could do better would be what I would want to focus on at any given time.
Okay, Colleen, how about you? Is there a concern?
I don't have a particular issue. Nothing, basically it's been a personal decision. The timing is right for me. I've always wanted to give back to my community and get involved. The school committee went through a tough period over the past year, and I would really like to be part of the process going forward and, stepping out of the dark and going toward our future. And, I wouldn't have any criticisms of the school committee presently. And I look forward to working with Superintendent Neve and, all the other committee members. And I don't have any criticisms of the work they are doing. It's just, for me personally, I would like to get involved and give back and do what I can to, and it is an important time for these kids at this stage going forward. So we need to think about different resources that we could work on with them, some mentoring or tutoring processes, or the new pathway program they're speaking about. And it's just an exciting time to actually start to talk about more development and less gloom and gloom. So that's why I decided to put my hat in.
Well, I did want to ask about pathways. Do you support transition? It sounds like it's the way everybody is direction they're heading in with programs like this.
Transitioning?
Right. Do you support how the choices and how the transition is going?
Yes, I do support Superintendent Neve, and I feel like they follow the guidelines of transitioning back into school. It takes the place of in-person learning. It's important to be back in school and have a sense of normalcy, and children actually thrive around one another, both occasionally and social emotionally. It teaches them more opportunity for independent instruction, and I feel like we can only go forward from here, and I'm excited about that process.
And Rob?
Yeah, 100%. I think we're on track. We need to get the kids back in there, and I'm very happy to see them doing that. I agree 100%. Not to get specific with one of my children, but I can think of multiple ways that I feel my family and my kids are going to benefit greatly from going back full time to school compared to the hybrid learning. And I know that the school system has done everything they can with the hybrid to do the best they can, but specifically the developmental skills, and just the interactions and seeing their friends and having a regular schedule and just getting in the swing of things and following what we used to consider a normal education and program and schedule. We just need to get them back on track, and I'm excited to see they're doing it, and I want to help continue in that.
I wanted to ask you about the new programs also that the school is putting on. They have engineering and culinary arts you've always had, but they're transitioning to a lot of different, more so than the traditional model, maybe. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about those types of programs?
I love that stuff. I think that in general, anything that provides flexibility for kids to choose and try different things is wonderful. I did a full academic schedule myself, and as well as career and technical. And I can't say that I got more or less out of one or the other. So anything we can do to offer, not only the academic pathways that we do so well with, and maybe what you typically would call, the academic college path, but also offering pathways to get kids interested in technical schools and anything along those lines. Anything that opens up doors for them to experience more and different things creates, I feel, more well-rounded individuals, and it will it'll make our students get through the school system and move on to their early lives with a better idea of what they do like, what they don't like, what they're good at, what they didn't enjoy or they weren't so good at. Just anything to increase the experience like that for these kids is just a huge, huge advantage for them moving into the workforce.
Thank you. Colleen?
I completely support the goal. I think about, am I still muted? I think about, it's important that we retain our students and make sure that there's options available for everybody. So I certainly believe that these vocational skills, are real life skills. You're ready to work right out of high school. And I'm not sure if it's all vocational. I'll be honest with you. I don't know 100% about the pathways. I've heard some about it at meetings. But I mean, if there's other internships that could be available, licensing, anything to get ahead of the game early on, you do have the college experience where a freshman goes in undecided and doesn't really know what their interests are. So I do believe this would be a great opportunity for kids to, explore what options are out there and what interests they may have. And also, there's something to be said of, sure, you can have a vocation and then also, go into furthering education to get some kind of business background, so that there's many opportunities. But I believe it's never too early, and I think it would be a great opportunity for our children.
A lot of discussion has been had about the state going forward with MCAS testing. How do each of you feel about that? Colleen, you're first.
What was that? Go forward with MCAS testing?
That the state is going forward with MCAS testing. I guess there had been some discussion about not having it because of the effect on students.
Right. I don't know much about that, but I would have to say if the teachers and administrations believed that, that they could get their children ready to take the testing, that they should have to do that. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know much about MCAS testing.
Rob, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think it's important that we push to move forward with testing, just like every other avenue of the education system, as soon as possible. That being, and I want to get things back to what we used to consider normal. That being said, I do think that, and I'm not 100% sure how to accomplish this, but I think that going back full time in the very near future for our students, we would have to do some level of observing, and I don't know that we could literally assess effectively or quickly enough for everyone. But I think as a school system as a whole, the teachers would have to have some discussions in regards to, after some time back, where they feel the students are overall. I think we need to get back to testing and we need to get back to normal, but I think we need to be careful to make sure that, the MCAS test itself is not going to change because of COVID. The test was already written and the test is going to be what it would have been if it wasn't for the pandemic. I think we need to have an idea where our students are in their education, and be fairly confident that they are on par where they would be at this point in time or at this point in the year in their education, in a previous year. In other words, if you're an 8th grader and you're scheduled to take MCAS this year, I think it's 8th grade was one of the years we did it. So that was a long time ago. But if you're in a grade, you're supposed to take it this year, there should be some sort of understanding that that group of children is where we would expect them to be without the pandemic having happened, before we expect them to take a test that's going to be placement for them. So I think we do need to move forward as close to normal as possible, but we need to be careful that we're not just setting unrealistic expectations for children who are realistically and understandably maybe behind on some things, to just go ahead and take a test like that's not the case. I think that could actually have a negative impact and really, negatively affect kids in their self, and it could leave them feeling like they didn't do so well. And I think that might actually hurt them. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd want to make sure that the whole system felt that they were ready before we did that. Somehow we need to figure that out and see how they're doing before we send them in to take that test, I think.
We are still in the middle, near the end maybe, of the pandemic, but do you feel the schools have done a good job enforcing the social distancing and mask wearing? Because there's still going to be, when all the kids go back to school, they'll be extra careful, I'm sure. But how do you feel about how it's gone so far? Rob?
Me or Colleen?
Rob, please.
I think they've done a good job. I think realistically, I think that some of the guidelines were things that were never going to happen 100%. Even if you're talking to an adult wearing a mask, they're constantly touching it and pulling it up and fixing it. It's not something that's perfect. Nothing runs on 100% efficiency. I think it's been a valiant effort. I think they've done an awful lot of planning and considering, and I think that the team has done a wonderful job. The committee members ask good questions, and Superintendent Neef, I feel, does a wonderful job coming to each meeting with the information that the committee has asked for. He presents things very organized. He does a great job explaining where he gets his data, what it says, and clearly states his recommendations. I can't speak highly enough about the team we have working now and the way that they've done things and the questions they've asked and all that to get us where we are now. And I cannot imagine being a teacher right now and trying to enforce the regulations with especially some of the younger children. It's not something that I would want to try to pull off myself. I definitely would not be qualified to do that. But I think they've done a good job. I think they've done as good a job as we could ever expect them to pull off. And, we've gotten the numbers down. We're out of the red and into the yellow at this point. And I think we've done a good job overall with some tasks that were maybe not attainable in reality, but we did a good job and did our best, and they did a good enough job that it was effective. It took a lot of effort, and I would commend them for that. Yeah, I'd say they did a real good job getting us where we are now, and I want to make sure we continue that.
And Colleen, what are your thoughts?
I do believe that the schools have done a great job taking the necessary precautions, and it's been working. My daughter has been quarantined twice. There was a positive in our cohort and then a positive on our soccer team. We did choose to test, and both times came back negative. So I do believe the social distancing, the mask wearing, the hand washing, the intensive cleanings, it seems to be working. I do mirror Rob's thoughts, and every time we've sat at these meetings and asked them to come up with a plan, Superintendent Neef did come back with a very comprehensive, fluid plan to get back based on all the data available. And, at that point, this most recent time when, we started transition to kindergarten to grade 2 back in. I do believe it was a very thorough plan based on the available, and that of course the numbers were going down. And again, so I do believe it may have taken a little bit longer than we expected to get back in, but once we put, we put fire under them, they got a plan in action, and apparently there was a plan ready. So I do support Superintendent Neve and the decision to send the kids back to school, and I do believe that we are taking the necessary precautions at school to keep the children safe.
Well, I know the school districts do a lot of planning, definitely a necessity. What are your thoughts on the current budget and the proposed budget for the coming year?
I wouldn't know anything really about the budget. I'm not privy to that information as far as where is it now. What I am open to is learning about how that works, the teacher contracts, the staff contracts, getting an understanding on the resources available and how it's allocated, and making, I understand, fiscally responsible decisions, and I'm excited to learn what it takes to run the full fields and irrigate the systems and all the other ins and outs that come along with making repairs to, now the Carver Middle High School. So, I look forward to learning more about that process and the budget itself.
Rob?
I think in my career, I work in restoration construction, and on the front end of every project, just like the front end of every calendar year, you build a budget that is the plan. It's the financial plan for the project. There's usually somewhere where you have a little bit of extra money for spending and things that you know may come up without knowing specifically what those things are yet. But I think that's a level of fluidity and adaptability that you expect in a normal year's budget. I think moving forward, the key will be, and I think they've done a good job of this thus far. I think the key will be constant paying attention and constantly assessing it, and full transparency in terms of budgeting. And I think it's something we're going to have to watch a little bit more closely than maybe under a little more normal circumstances, because anytime you have something progressing forward that needs to be as fluid as the system does now, it needs to be as flexible as things need to be now. Unforeseen circumstances cost money. So it's just something we have to watch very carefully. And like I said, I think the key is open communication and 100% transparency, so that we can keep an eye on it, we can monitor it, and do the best we can to see things coming and be prepared for what may come or what we might not see coming. Because let's face it, we can't plan for everything. We can just be as aware as possible, fully transparent, and stay flexible. But they've done a good job. It's very well organized. There's a lot there in the budget they presented recently, so it's very hard to understanding, sitting in on a meeting and trying to make sense of it all in a 10-minute presentation without further studying it. But on the committee, I would assume we'd have some more time to assess it and ask questions on it and things like that in the background, if need be, to make sure that the decisions being made do make sense and are well informed. So I would expect, and I would make sure that once on the committee, that I would want a better understanding of it than I have now with the glimpse I got in the meetings thus far.
I was wondering if both of you think that the school committee is a public relations role, and what would that be? Rob?
I think on some level, I think that it's a representative of sorts in a lot of ways. You are, I would assume that, feedback and comments, public comments in the meetings, emails in between meetings, things like that, you'd get feedback, opinions, thoughts, desires, and hear individual stories and things from the community in regards to their kids and the education and whatnot. And I think that taking everyone, as many people's opinions as possible into account in the decision-making process is key, because the decisions the school committee makes should be representative of what is best for the education system in the community, and that the community needs some say in that. The parents and the students need some say in that. So I think being on the board, listening to what the community has to say, and listening to opposing views and all of the above is going to be important. And just like any other situation where you're going to sit on a board or be a member of a team, of course, you need to hold yourself a certain way and you need to be professional. So in terms of that aspect of public relations, I would treat it as a profession. I would treat it just like I do my career. I would come in, do the best I can, present myself well to the appointed role. And I would treat it 100% like a separate career, like a profession. And public relations is part of anything like that.
And Colleen, what do you think?
I'm sorry. I think the way you hold yourself out in a community has a lot to say about your character and your values. I would certainly be open to accepting comments from the public, students, parents. I would be open to speaking and accepting comments from teachers and staff and administration. I do believe that, a social media isn't the appropriate place to be talking about any kind of public certainly we wouldn't be talking, you wouldn't use the Facebook forum to talk about any kind of public information that is discussed about the school committee or the decisions that are made or the ins and outs of that. But I kind of would use the social media to, again, let them know that this is my position on the board and that I would be open to any comments that they have to better things in a positive way. And if they had any concerns that they needed expressed, I would be the appropriate avenue, right, like a Senate or a House member. So I would be open to that, and I would hold myself to a standard that, is respected and valued within the community.
So Colleen, would you be able to support a decision that you did not agree with by the board, and why or why not? Can
you say that again?
Would you be able to support a decision by the board that you disagree with?
Well, yeah, I believe we all have a vote, right? So I could be in the minority, but I would still have to listen and have an impartial, open mind about, maybe it was a decision that made sense financially, but maybe it made sense financially and it was voted through, but if for some reason or another, I differed on opinions of, I can't say, I don't really have an example, but I do believe that I am open-minded and impartial, so I would be able to, just like sitting on a jury, right? It's something, you can have an opinion on something, but it's the way the committee as a whole, you're one member of a whole. If it's a 3-2 vote, the 3 wins, right? And I'm not going to be going expressing my minority decision anywhere or, getting in any arguments about that. So I can appreciate that that's the way a committee works.
Rob?
I agree 100% in terms of that's how the system is designed to work. You have 5 people, it's an odd number on purpose. If you're on the minority in a vote and things go the other way, the committee has decided, that direction, and we need to remain a strong bound team moving forward. Supporting a decision that goes against my vote on the decision is part of the deal, 100%. That's how it needs to work. I do want to rewind back a little bit too, and kind of go back to the concept of, before that vote gets made, I think it's important that if there's a decision being made shortly and you're gathering information or you're getting opinions from people in the public reaching out to you, the first thing I would say that I would do if I got, we'll say view number 1 on an item, before making any decision or casting my vote, I think the first priority would be to seek out people or persons that hold the exact opposite view and hear them out, because we're all human. And if you read one book and it feels one way, you lean that way until you learn something the other way, or you're told or explained something the other way, in the other direction. So I think it's important to, listen to what everybody has to say, and sometimes actually go out and find an opposing view on purpose to make sure you're making a well-rounded decision. But yes, then if I make a vote and the committee goes the other way, that's how it's supposed to be. That's democracy.
I wanted to ask, towards the beginning, if either of you have served on town boards or committees before. Rob?
I have not. I've never held any sort of board no level of politics whatsoever. I do work for a construction company I've been here for 10 years, just over 10 years. And I've learned a lot from the owner because everything is 100% transparent. Everything is 100% disclosed. We are all treated like partners. Big picture business decisions are shared, we're consulted with. It's a real wonderful team mentality with 100% open communication. And sometimes same thing. Sometimes the business goes in a way that I was like, well, that's not what I was thinking. That wasn't my interpretation of it. I don't always understand why we went one way versus the other or whatnot. But that's been a great experience. So it's not a political seat, but it's been my profession for years now, and I think it holds a lot of similarities. But like I said earlier, this is definitely going to be a new experience. It'll be a learning experience, but I'm excited, so that's okay.
And Colleen, have you before?
I haven't served on a board, a town election or a town board. I've, served on other committees in college. And, the nature of my profession is, complete a thorough investigation, analyze the issues, evaluate, liability, weight decisions. So basically, I've been involved in the decision-making process my entire career. So I'm open to expanding my education and growing with this committee over the next 3 years. And, it's for something really looking forward to. It's something I'm very passionate and excited about. So I think I'd be a valuable member to the team for sure.
Colleen, what are your goals in your first month or two if you were elected?
Certainly soaking it all in, learning all about how, the private sessions work. I believe that, that we'd be getting right into contract negotiating, but I would like to know, all the issues that are on the table for the upcoming year. Certainly probably have the opportunity to work on some minor contract negotiating. Also to, figure out where we are with top priorities and concerning decisions of, different programs and funding that are going on. I'd like to figure out what it's all about and get in there and get a taste of it and provide my 2 cents. I'm not shy in that regard. But honestly, I do feel I have a lot to give, and I'm looking forward to, seeing what it's all about, really, Catherine.
Okay. And Rob, how about you?
I think coming in right off the bat, I have 3 major points that I want to make sure I focus on. One is getting acclimated, learning the process, and learning as soon as possible and right away what it is to be a member of the board. Just like Colleen said, we're gonna, got to come in and learn what the position is and what's needed of me and what's expected of me to make sure I'm doing a good job. 2, is some of what we've talked about already. Figure out where the kids are at, figure out where the system's at, and make sure that we keep progressing forward where we're at now, and worry right away about the 21-22 school year so that we can do everything in our power to keep the kids in school next year, to not set things back further than they are now. I want to catch up, and I want to stay caught up, and I want to get ahead. And which brings me to my third point, and that is I've started to, but certainly there's more that I can look into to get a handle on it. I want to go back to where our ratings were and, where our school system was prior to COVID-19. Go back to a little bit before this time last year, before all this happened, and see what we were excelling at and see where we could improve. Because, I like to be proactive, and I like to be have a positive mentality on things. And I'm confident we can get ourselves back on track and where we need to be and get back caught up. And I want to, before we get to that point, I want to be ready to look at where we could have improved this time last year without this. I know that we have some really good scoring in terms of children completing and doing well and passing their freshman classes, and that's a really good indicator of graduation. We do really well in that aspect. We're ahead of the state average. There's some other items where we're slightly below the state average. Our numbers are good, but they're not the best they could be. Advanced placement courses, career and technical, things like that, where the Pathways program comes in. Those are the things we started working on a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago. And I want to make sure that we start looking at that stuff again. I want to pick up where we left off. I want to hit the ground running, and do the best we can for the kids. So get acclimated, make sure we come right back and we stay on track and we keep the kids safe and keep them back in school. And really push forward to where we were over a year ago and make sure that we're back to focusing on what would have been to make Carver school system better than ever.
Well, I think it's time for closing remarks. Rob, next. You're up.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm a parent, a father of 4 kids, lots of dogs and animals, lots of headaches and decisions to be made. But I see this as pretty similar, or I will go into this with a mentality of when I was a first-time parent. I won't always know the right answer. I won't always know what to do. But there's always somebody who's been there and done that. There's always somebody who knows better or knows more than you that you can consult with, get more information on to make well-rounded decisions. Like I said, I've said it over and over again. I'm more than anything, I'm excited. I know I can bring a lot to the table. I know I can contribute and be a good member of the team. And I love getting out and meeting with people and having conversations. I love it when someone completely proves me wrong and changes my mind on something, because I see it as I've learned something. And I think this is an opportunity for me to learn a lot. And this is an opportunity for me to share a lot of what I do know and what I can learn to help the community, our kids. And we all need to do the best we can do and be the best we can be. And I want to step up and I want to help the community's children, my children, all of the children. And I really think I hold a huge value in my own education and schooling. I've been inspired by a lot of my professors and teachers in the past. And anything I can do to supply that to the kids of Carver, and bring them that level of experience that I value so much is something I should do. Why would I not want other people to experience that as I have and value it as I do? So please vote for me for school board. I'm excited to be able to help out. And it's been great. Thank you very much for your time. Catherine, thank you. Colleen, thank you very much for your input. I agree with a lot of what you said. Thanks very much, guys.
And Colleen, it's your turn. Closing remarks.
Thank you, Catherine. As I stated before, my goal is to get involved in impacting Carver education in a positive way. Even just getting out to get my signatures on the nomination papers, I made a lot of stops along the way to different people who said that they would support me and were proud of me. So that was a really nice feeling, and it was kind of taking a trip down memory lane. But honestly, I really believe that I'm positive, optimistic person, and I really feel going forward from here, we can be excited to be part of a process that's only going to get better. And I do feel I can add value to the committee utilizing my skills in community resources. You know, I want everyone to remember the children are our future, and we need to put our resources and strengths and effort into making the best future for them. And I just really would appreciate your vote on April 24th. And I totally respect this process and appreciate Rob's words and Catherine, your volunteering. And yes, that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, Colleen Kowalski and Rob Harrington, for your time this evening. And yes, the election is Saturday, April 24th. So be ready, prepare for that coming up. Thank you.
Thank you.